I think at the heart of D&D is this kind of thing that we all want to go fight monsters. We have a character sheet with a bunch of abilities, and we want to go use that to go bash in all the monsters' skulls and have a, I get to be the big monster killer, thing. But we're also playing a role-playing game, and that means that we can talk and we can, negotiate and we can do what we want to do, and that's all incredibly fun. But we have a difficult time when that becomes the solution to all our problems. And I think that what we kind of have to do is make sure that we make a game where we get to both be the monster killing machine, but we also get to go talk to everybody and figure out what it is that we're, wanting to get out of this adventure, figure out how to make friends, how to negotiate. We want to be able to do both of those things at the same time. So the question comes, how do you make a morally complicated villain? How do you do something that's neither good or bad, but somewhere in between? And I have some ideas on that, but also I kind of just like... I like the bit where we get to bash the bad guy's face in. That's one of my favorite bits of D&D. So I think what we're going to try to do tonight is we're going to try and have our cake and eat it too. We're going to try and make a scenario where our players get to both think complexly about people and think, how do we solve this situation fairly non-violently? But on the flip side, how do we get to go, imagine people complexly? Welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 11 years. And we are back in Dilhorn. I think it's time we name the adventure. I've been thinking Brown of the Fungal Queen, inspired by our, stream here last Wednesday, which, good God, less than 7 days between streams. Am I okay? Yes. So what has happened is that we decided, we being me and my girlfriend AB, that February would be a bit of a break month for me. And what we've been doing is we've been sort of going and taking a bit of a breather. If you're watching the VOD right now, obviously the people in chat, you're not watching the VOD. But if you are watching the VOD right now, I'll put a little timestamp, but when we actually get started on Dilhorn. But I do like to start these streams by just sort of shooting the shit and talking to everybody, giving them a little bit of update on things here in Mystic Arts land. And we decided February was going to be a break month, and we decided that I needed to take a little bit of a breather. And what happens when I do that is that I get excited about all the things that aren't immediate. So on one hand, this has been great for my health, because I'm having a little bit of time to just sort of chill. Me and AB played Lego Voyagers. We're not done. I think we're almost finished though. It's a game where you play as a 1x1 piece of Lego, and you sort of roll around the map, and then you attach to other bits of Lego, and you move them back, and then you build things one brick at a time to solve puzzles. And it's 2-player, and it's really cool. This isn't sponsored or anything. I just like the game. We both got it. Basically, only one of us had to buy it, and then she gets to play on a friend's pass, which I thought was really neat. And we've been playing that a little bit, which has been great. I still haven't managed to finish the last season of Stranger Things. I watched another 10 minutes of the finale today. I might try and watch the rest before bedtime, but we'll see. I'm streaming here instead. But the reason February's been great for me as a sort of break month is that I'm also able to go think about the things I want to do long term with Mystic Arts, with Patreon, and the idea of doing the Dilhorn adventure. I think we want to get it done in May. We'll see if that works, but we've drafted some plans for how that would go. We also get to work on the broadsheet with a bit more time. So we're now almost, I'd say about 50-60% done with all the art for the March issue of the broadsheet, the one coming out at the end of March. So we get to work ahead of schedule. And then we'll be able to use that time to make a better Dilhorn adventure in May, I think. It's like you picked the shortest month to be your break. Yeah, that's true. I did do that. I did do that. What's the point of watching 10 minutes of an episode? It's all I could get done. I had a lunch break, and I was like, let me turn on the episode. Maybe it was 20 or 30 minutes, but it's a 2.5 hour episode. And I did a bit of that, and then I had to go do some stuff. So I couldn't get any further in. My plan wasn't to just watch 10 minutes, but here we are. Yeah, so I worked on the lizard folk all weekend. We've now made them. I've sent them over to Magnus to have a look at the editing pass, because I frequently make little errors in the stat block. So he's now having a bit of a look on how that's going to go. 28 stat blocks for the lizard folk. They're different. They're not all like one species. It's going to be inspired by the Warhammer selection. So you're going to have like little gecko lizard folk, and you're going to have chameleon lizard folk, and you're going to have big beefy warrior lizard folk, and you're going to have spellcasting priests. So it's all kinds of lizard folk. Dinosaurs. I made like 6 dinosaur stat blocks. They're really fun. I basically went and looked at Ivar's Warhammer collection. I think whenever we do that video, we're going to talk about how you look at a mini and then get inspired by the mini and then make a stat block based out of that, because that's the entire process. We just got out all our Warhammer minis. I say ours. I think they're all his, actually. And we laid them out on the table, and then we just looked at them, and we were like, what does this one do? What does that one do? This one has a bolus, so that means they drop people prone. But then if you're prone, you have disadvantage on ranged attacks. Well, maybe the special thing about these ranged attacks, they don't get disadvantage from prone. They're used to working with prone targets. That kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun. That was great. And I think I want to do Underdark next. It was tough because when we were doing the broadsheets are so big. They're like 50, 60 pages. We're probably going to trim them a little, but I keep saying that. So what we're going to do, we're doing all these broadsheets. I often have a difficult time finding the inspiration. Like I basically run out of brain juice, and then I can't sit down and just go make some lizard folk. So in the end, I don't make the stat blocks. But with having a little bit of a break month, I get a bit more time to think about the stat blocks. And I think I want to do Underdark next, so I'm going to do Drow and Duergar. I want to do Dwarf stat blocks. I have a bunch of Dwarf Warhammer minis. Why can't they have monster stat blocks? Makes no sense to me. I'll do Dwarves. I'll do Orcs. I don't know how long that whole chunk's going to be. It's a bunch of monsters, but eventually they'll all come into a PDF like the Goblinoid one, and you guys can have a look at that. The adept patrons who make this whole thing possible. What's your plan for the broadsheets once each burrow in Blackguard has been covered? I don't know. I think we're probably gonna have to go to a different place. We're not planning on doing one broadsheet per burrow. We're gonna do one broadsheet per inner city burrow, and I think that's 12 or 13 boroughs, something like that. But there are 31 boroughs in Blackguard, and most of them are suburbs. So we're probably going to have issues in between where we just go, here are a bunch of them. Like we did in issue 4 of the broadsheet. In this issue, we had 2 boroughs in here, and they were only like 3 spreads each instead of the usual like 10 spreads for a borough. And we just sort of glance over like what is in this borough. So I think when we do the suburbs, we're probably going to do the same. We've done a little outline for the whole thing, and that's going to come out to like 14 issues or something like that of the Blackguard broadsheet. And then I guess we start making something else. I like the idea of doing cowboys in D&D. I play a lot of cowboy-based adventures. I'm a big fan of that sort of fantasy. It's also why Peter Tale from Elsewhere's game appeals to me a lot. So I'm excited about the idea of eventually doing a cowboy thing. We'd probably do it with Hexploration and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's a year and a half from now. My life tends to exist in what needs to get done this week and next week. So I haven't thought that far. Eventually, I would love. I've made a little bit of progress in this department, but I'm not gonna talk too much about it. But I would love the idea of taking the stuff in the broadsheets that is currently like a bunch of issues of a zine and compiling them into some kind of large hardcover book, or maybe 2 of them, one with adventures and one with player stuff or something like that, where we'd be able to get them all together, and that I'd be able to put those books on my shelf. That would be the coolest thing in the world if I get to hold my setting in my hands. But I don't know when or if that's going to happen. I would love the idea, though. Another thing would be like if we could do them in print, like the zines just as is. I don't know. Is that something you folks find interesting? I don't. I really haven't thought enough about what kind of physical products. I sort of, because of the tariff situation in the United States, I just kind of put all of that out of my mind, and I thought, we're going to do digital only. Sir Element, thank you so much. Welcome to the Mystic Novice Club. If you are a member or a patron, you get access to our Discord, and you'd be able to come say hi to us there. I try and stay fairly active in there. So you'd be able to ask questions. There's a very active community of DMs, and there's even a portal that takes you to a mystic patron like Westmarches server run by Lou, who I think is in chat. I haven't really looked at chat at all. Yeah, Lou's here. Hi everybody. How you doing? I've just been yapping. Yeah, so a lot of projects. I'm talking to. I probably shouldn't say too much about this, but I'm talking to some fellow Dungeon Tubers who are working on the Dungeon Jam, which is going to be in the last week of May, and we sort of came up with a collab that we could do, which would be very weird, a very weird collab. We haven't really figured out how it's going to work, but the dream would be some kind of yeah, like an online gaming thing. I'm not going to say too much. I'm sorry. I just came off a call with James, DM with a day job, and I'm really excited about that. Hello, join Mystic Marches. Yeah, if you want to play West Marches, and they use the Hexpiration rules, I think. I know they tried them. Maybe they bounced off of them. Lou, maybe Pink DM can tell us if they do Hexpiration still in their Mystic Marches servers. But it's a bunch of people who are members of the Patreon. The Discord, and those folks are running West Marches games for each other, so they're all playing together, which I think is the coolest thing in the world, really. GM Ryu. Hi, GM. How you doing? Ryu? Hell yeah, Game Raven. Nax, I love the idea of like a collated sort of hardcover. The thing I really want to make one day is a box set. If Dillhorn would eventually become a box set, that'd be the coolest thing in the world. Because I love box sets. I love the idea of opening them and you get all the maps and all the little things. And when I'm designing the broadsheet spreads, I'm always thinking in terms of what's on either side of the page. Because I want you to be able to run it right out of the book. So when we did a dungeon in issue number 2, I made sure that each spread had a detailed layout of the map, everything that's on there, and in the corner there was a little image of the dungeon so that you could see where the other rooms are, and then you could flip to those pages. And in the PDF right now, that's hyperlinked, so you can just click it, and then you can click the next bit and you sort of bounce around. Lou says, we have exploration sessions or just dungeon sessions. Oh, so it's like two things. They either explore, do exploration, or they go to a dungeon. That's cool. That makes sense. It's difficult to do the travel sections in West Marches just because you have such limited time. So really you don't have time for much more than a 5-room dungeon. I appreciate that. Ilkipai? Mystic Arts monster book. That'd be dope. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I love working on monsters. I love working on them. If we do a monster book, we'd have to spend some serious time on getting art for it, because right now a lot of that stuff in there is stock art, and I'd love to get our own, get Brimrune to do these sort of key pieces for that, because she's amazing. I'm gonna tell you a little story. I went on a bit of a side quest the other day. So in January 2025, about 30 players played in a war game with me. We called it a mega game, which is not a word I invented or anything like that, but it's a sort of basically RPG. It's kind of like a LARP actually, But each, like, it's set up of teams, and each team has 3 players. In this mega game, there are other kinds, and each player has a job, and then you have a turn. And at the start of the turn, all the players in the team group up and they talk, and then when the turn starts properly, so 15 minutes into it, a turn is 1 hour, they go do their job. So in the team, you might have like a general guy, a leader guy, and a politician guy, or a science guy, or whatever. And they all go do, the general goes to go meet all the other generals, and they go play a war game. And the scientist goes and meets all the other scientists and plays the scientist game. And then they all make progress, and they come back together and discuss what happened. And we did a game like this with pirates. It was called 8 Hours of Anarchy. And it was awesome. Yeah, Ratsa. It was. They're so fun, right? Well, I just started the YouTube channel then, and I was talking to a YouTuber about this, and they were saying, you gotta film it. You gotta film the whole thing. And I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna have time to edit it. And they were like, you should get an editor. And I can't afford that. So we filmed it, and I figured I'd get around to editing it at some point, and I take the footage home. Yeah, this filmmaker, I get a filmmaker in to film it, and he loads all the footage onto a hard drive and hands it to me. And this is the hard drive I'm working off of for all of the Mystic Arts videos and everything. I'm storing it all on there. And then that hard drive starts to fail like halfway through last year. And I unplug it, and I get an SSD, and I put all the Mystic Arts stuff on there, but I didn't have space for the mega game footage. And the hard drive would just crash Windows Explorer. And I'm getting anxious. Then I sort of forgot about it. And now I saw that we were approaching 100,000 subscribers, and I thought it would be great if I could go have a look at that footage. And then we could release it, and it would be like a 100K subscriber special. This hour-long video of us playing a mega game. But I plug the hard drive in, and it doesn't turn on. And I plug it into the wall, it doesn't turn on. I plug it into the laptop out in the living room. Doesn't recognize it. And I call my friend, who is an Icelandic filmmaker, who works at a equipment rental down just not that far from where I live. And I'm like, hey, I'm sure you've had this come up where people will have filmed the whole thing and they put it on a hard drive and the hard drive starts failing. And he goes, oh yeah, those things fail all the time. It's not that big a deal. Here's what you want to do. Tear open the casing, drill out the hard drive, extract it, plug it directly into your computer. If that doesn't work, I wish I still worked at the equipment rental, because I could go upstairs, talk to my friend there, and he'd be able to get your footage for you. And I go, oh, okay, all right. I tear it all out. I can't plug it into the computer because I have it's full of hard drives already. I film so much stuff. I'm always filling up my computer with video files, and I get really anxious. And I can't plug it into the laptop out there. I can't get it here, so I go to the electronics store. I buy a dock, so you can stick a hard drive, clunk, right in there. And I do that, and it doesn't read the file. And I think, I'm just going to go talk to that friend of my friend's who runs that shop that does this kind of thing. And I drive down just before closing, and I see the logo on the store. I walk right in, and inside, there's no reception. There's a corridor with stairway at the end and acoustic paneling all along the sides and this really chic-looking hardwood floors. And I think, oh, okay, strange. I walk up the stairs, and there's a massive poster of an Icelandic film, like an award-winning Icelandic film. And I go, okay, odd. I walk upstairs. There is a billiards table and a coffee machine and no receptionist or storefront or anything like that. And I walk into the middle of this lobby, this office kitchen, and a man walks out in his 60s. He's got a scarf on, a hat, a big coat, and his leather gloves, and he's clearly about to leave, and he looks me up and down like I've just waltzed into his office, which it turns out I had done. And he says, hello, and I go, and I say my friend's name. He told me to come here. I have a hard drive, it's got some footage on it, and the CEO of this post-production house that does hired editing work for major films and advertisements that come to this country he goes, walk with me. And he takes me to the office of an editor that works there. And she looks at me and I say my friend's name again. And she goes, okay. So apparently, just knowing this guy is allowing me to stay in the building. And I hand her the drive, and she invites me into her office, and they've got like a slick-looking standing desk, 2 massive iMac displays with a glass screens, a Mac Pro, like a $5,000 computer. There's a separate desk for an assistant editor. There's a massive TV on the wall, and then a really expensive-looking couch. And I look at that couch, and I go, I bet you there are directors who my parents know about, who have sat on this couch. She plugs it in. She can't get it to work. And she goes, there's this guy who has this program. He can definitely get this to work. And I'm like, hey, that's the name of the guy that my friend said. And she goes, okay, yeah, he's got the way to plug this in. And I go, okay, great. How much is this going to run me? And she says, this is not a service we offer. And at this point, I realize I am not in a shop. I am not in a store. I am not in some IT repair shop or anything. I am in a post-production house for the Icelandic film industry. And she asked me, are you in the business? Which is like a shibboleth for the film industry. And I go, sort of. I'm a director. I made this video game. I have a YouTube channel. And she goes, I will try. And I go, okay. She tells me to show up the next day, and I do, and they're like, we're really busy, we can't be working on this. And I go, that makes sense, and she hands me the hard drive back. So at this point, I've got a hard drive that's dead, and I made a fool of myself at this local post-production house. No idea what to do next. I end up walking over back to my computer, and I try some software they recommended to me. And sure enough, that software is now fetching files. I've got 85 files out of 200 video files. And I put it onto a safer, brand new hard drive. And it says it's going to take another 200 hours to get the other files. But hey, I'm hoping maybe one day you'll be able to see this mega game. But at the moment, it's looking a little bleak. This is not a service we offer. Oh boy. Good God. Anyway, I hope everybody didn't just get incredibly bored with that long story. We are working on an adventure. This adventure is called Dilhorn? No. The Crown of the Fungal Queen? The Fungal Queen's Crown? Something like that. We can have the cover art be the image from Annihilation, but done our way, right? So what are we doing? We've got this adventure that we're working on, and we're going to have a little think about this. But before we do, I have to stop being Daði, the guy who walks to the post-production offices, and become Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Subscribe to D&D Rules.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Welcome back to Smash.
Clearly agile, sneaky, intelligent, powerful. I'm on the bed already.
T-minus 5 seconds.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Last we left off, we were working on Dilhorn, and this is the sort of doc that we've been writing everything in. And if you're here and you're going, hey, what is that piece of software? This is Obsidian. We made videos on Obsidian before. And this vault and the unique look it has is from this video here. Go check them both out. Otherwise, we're going to delve right in. The town that we're working with is called Dilhorn. And we made this in episode 2 of the adventure. This is the doc that we sort of started writing stuff in. And we've been writing all of our notes in here on this hard drive that I now realize is not backed up anywhere. And I'm dreading to think of the side quest I'll have to go on if anything goes wrong with it. You would have think I'd learned my lesson. But there's also a town called Dilhorn. And here's what the town looks like. And we made this in episode 2. And this is what it looks like. Here's a little standard pulp. Oh, hang on. If I zoom, you guys lose sight of it. What? Here's the standard pulp headquarters at the edge of town. And they are a logging camp that is cutting down the trees here. And we also know that inside the forest somewhere, there is a Druid Grove that we know a little about. We know it's a friendly, Druid Grove, and it's what remains of the Queen Isaria's domain. That's the fungal queen. And this is 100 generations later. They happily share the story of Isaria with the player characters if they go there. They tell them about the Battle of Canopy's Breach. If you're confused about this, we covered it in the last stream. But basically there was a big battle, and that's the site of that battle is where the adventure is going to take place. There's a bunch of druids here, and I write down, this could be a hostile area full of bad guys, but there's a way to talk them down. They hate the town, and maybe the characters can facilitate a dialogue between the two sides so they can live in peace. Maybe by taking the fight to standard pulp. Druids can be mollified, is that a word? Mollified. By explaining standard pulp to them. So how are we going to... This is the pitch at the start of the video, folks. I may have started talking a little before I went live. I don't know. But there's a fundamental... There are two things we want out of D&D. One, we want to be able to roleplay, and that means finding our own solutions to problems. But two, we want to be able to use our character sheets to be dope heroes doing dope stuff. And these two things are constantly at odds. Because if every problem can be solved by talking, you never get to play the character you made in character creation. You never get to cast Fireball or Tidal Wave or whatever it is. Eldritch Blast. But if all we do is cast Tidal Wave and Eldritch Blast, you might as well be playing Gloomhaven. So what is it that makes this a D&D adventure? Well, we sort of have to make sure that there is a moral conflict. And how do we do that? I don't know. There are a million ways to do it. There's no right way. But we made a video a while back talking about the 3-faction rule. And I think that's going to be very useful here. Because what we can do is we can split them internally. So in the 3-faction rule video, I talked about having a good faction, a bad faction, and an ugly faction. And we talked about this when we started doing the stream. We talked good, bad, and ugly here in town. Let me see if I can find it. The wilderness is the ugly, and that's where the Druid Circle has been put. But the undead are the bad guys. But then there's the town, which is good. But inside the town, there's the people we like. Then there's the corporation, and then there are villager vigilantes, okay? So inside the town, good, we have factions, 3 of them, good, bad, and ugly. Inside the Druid Grove, which we write here as ugly, presumably we also have good and bad factions, right? So how do we do a moral conflict? The way I would suggest doing it is actually fairly simple. We don't need to go all crazy on this. What we can do is we can put factions inside the corporation and inside the Druid Grove, and then these 2 factions can be providing the moral conflict for us. So we forget for a second that that we labeled the Druids as ugly, and we labeled the corporation as bad. And we think, what are the pieces inside that organization? And how do we make them be interesting to engage with? Allow us to do our roleplay, allow us to figure things out and engage in the mystery, and crucially, not rob anybody of getting to play their character sheet. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to figure out the exact details here, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to say Druid Grove, good, bad, ugly. Now, we've already decided that we're going to label this sort of whole category ugly. Now, ugly in this scenario is not a statement on anyone's physical appearance. It is a statement on they are neither good nor bad. They are somewhere in between. Right? So I'm going to put ugly up front because that is the druid leader is a bit of both good and bad. The druid underling 1 is good, wants a compromise. Druid underling 2 is bad, wants to kill all humans. And then we go up to the corporation. And we can make the same sort of arc in there, right? So we know the corporation, bad. We have a name here, Agatha Amok. We did this in some previous stream. She's a boss. She hates being here, thinks it's beneath them. Beneath her. Doesn't do hands-on work. 0 hours in the field, thinks she knows best. And then we're just going to add, doesn't care that they're cutting into Druid territory. I don't know what the ugly is, but I know that the good is the workers who are actually cutting the trees and are the ones in danger. And a lot of the times when I'm doing good, bad, and ugly design, I find myself quickly noticing which way the ugly faction leans, because we've already decided that bad doesn't care, therefore is sort of evil by mundanity, right? Good is the ones who are currently in danger. So then and they don't want to be in danger. So presumably ugly then is the workers who want to fight the druids. And then if we go over to the druids, maybe I need to get rid of this undead section here in the middle and just put them at the bottom. Maybe that means this guy wants to kill all the humans. This guy wants a compromise. So ugly wants to kill some of the humans. I don't know. Factions inside factions. Yeah, exactly. Faction in Druid Grove sends agents against the party. Yep, we could absolutely do that. Within each faction is good, bad, and ugly subsection. Yeah, and the thing that is powerful about thinking of adventures in those terms is that you can use it as a lens to figure out where, like, how deep you want to go, because you could zoom out and therefore just label the town one way, but you can zoom into the town and say the town includes good, bad, and ugly. One of those corporations, one of those factions is the corporation, and that includes good, bad, and ugly. And then you could say one of the factions inside of the bad includes good, bad, and ugly, and you could just continue to zoom as much as you want in or out. And that sort of creates this possibility for you to be able to constantly try and figure out exactly where the moral line lies, right? So, ugly seeks harmony, not kill all humans, just respect nature instead of pillaging it. I think if that is the ugly faction, we don't have a conflict, because then the druid leader is already the good guy. So I think they want to compromise. Right? Now, what is it that makes the leader be a bit of both? I don't know. There are many ways you can make a leader be a bit of both. You can decide that they are sitting on their hands. they're sort of wicked by ineptitude, right? You can decide that they're placating both sides and therefore aren't picking a side, or you can just go weird with it. So I think the ugly leader doesn't want to attack the town, wants to keep attacking the workers. Let's call them the loggers, right? We should call them loggers here as well. Loggers. The druid leader wants to keep attacking the loggers to send a signal. So bad wants to escalate it from there, and good wants to calm it down. Does that make sense? So they're saying we're not gonna go kill anybody in town. We have sent a very clear signal. If you come into our forest, you die. Surely there is a way to do that, but still talk to the people in charge. Well, the druid, they're saying no. We shouldn't have to explain ourselves. They're attacking our sovereignty. So Lazat doesn't want to talk to the humans. So they, the good faction then, they want to compromise. They want to talk. Heretical, right? The druids are like, we have lived in isolation for 100 generations. Why should we start now? Do the streams get posted? Yeah. All the VODs are available on the YouTube channel. If you go on the YouTube, there's a button up top that says live, and you can click on that, and then you can see all the live streams that we've ever done. So this is kind of the clever thing. If you put the ugly faction in charge, that means they are in the middle of the spectrum. And then the good faction wants to push one way, and the bad faction wants to put another way, or middle of the spectrum, one way, another way. Whether it's left to right, or up or down, or compass is up to you. I am missing music. I can't be doing this. Hang on. What if I put on the House of Dynamite soundtrack? Will that distract me too much? Will it make my heart pound? Or will it just make me feel like I am really cooking when I'm not? We'll give it a go. So the leader won't talk with any of the humans. We've been here for 100 generations. What's changed? They are willfully ignorant. That's a problem. Right? So now what we need to do, now that we have these top level ideas, we can start trying to figure out how the players interact with them. Because a player can interact with a faction. There is no way to talk to a faction. You have to talk to a person. So who are the people? Who is this druid leader? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? I don't know. Somebody said the bad guys are trying to get the spores involved. That might be good. I don't know. Denethor vibes. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Denethor is sort of the like, he's a really good example of like an ugly leader. Because on one hand, you've got Aragorn, but there isn't maybe not the best sort of D&D faction because there isn't really a bad leader. Denethor is just, he's terrible. He's the worst, but he's not Sauron, right? So if there were a character in Gondor, maybe there is, and I'm failing as a Tolkien nerd. But if there were a character in Gondor whose position would be even more, let's not get involved, then that will work. Xanathar, I think Denethor is mostly the bad part of Gondor, which is ugly. Yeah, that's also a way to look at it. Faramir might be a kind of example of an ugly character as well, because Faramir is sort of stuck between do I listen to my father and try and get his love? Boromir? Yeah. Like, there's no definitive answer. You're just using a lens to think about it. And what makes the lens useful is that over the course of the adventure, you can change your mind. And characters can change their mind. They can go from one end to the other. Now, there is an issue here. Is that if I were running this at my table, I say this in basically every stream, if I were running this at my table, something like this, if I had names attached, might be enough. Because I can trust in myself that I can interpret this and make adventure out of it. I could be a DM and get it done. But if this is going to be an adventure that we publish, we put into a PDF, and anybody can open, and they need to be able to understand it, we might be in trouble because what do you do? What do the players do? I don't know. So how do you take something like this and you make it be an adventure instead of just an idea or a scenario? You make it be a whole adventure. Well, we're going to need to make stat blocks for these bad druids. And we're going to need to make stat blocks for these good druids. And then we're going to need to put them somewhere and give them a plot, right? Yes, this is live. Hello. I see you. Yeah, how do we do that? Well, if we take a lesson from Star Wars, the genius of Marcia Lucas's editing is that she decided that the Death Star, in post, this wasn't this way in the original script, in post, Marcia Lucas, the editor, decided that the Death Star was moving to attack the Rebel base and it was going to blow up another planet. So the Rebels were on the clock. They were in active danger. So that's what the bad guys are doing. They are doing something that when the clock reaches 0, the bad guys win. If that happens, they are now in charge. And many will die. Let's start making silly NPC names. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Hi, Daði. Hello, American Swag. What results do you normally get when placing good NPCs in bad factions and vice versa? My players love finding the good guy in the bad faction. They also love finding the ugly character in the bad faction. A lot of times people are like, how do you make like a twist villain? DMs want to have a villain that turns out to be evil. And there may well be ways of doing that, but in my experience, what works way better is you give your players a character and you say, this guy works for the bad guys, and he likes the bad guys, but he doesn't like what they're doing right now, and he can help you. And now they have a moral quandary. We're going to work with this guy. He's eventually going to betray us. But before he does, he's going to help us. And then maybe we can betray him before he betrays us. And now, every dialogue those characters have afterwards is interesting. Because they are thinking in terms of, how do we deal with this guy? Is he going to betray us? When's he going to betray us? Is it going to be now? Is it going to be after we fight? Is it going to be during the fight? Or is it going to be fine? And then over time, he's going to start betraying us over the course of the rest of the adventure. Every single one of those conversations is full of tension and drama. This is that Hitchcock thing, right? You cut to a bomb underneath the table. Just as it goes off, it explodes and kills the whole cafe. Now everybody's dead. You've been shocked. Good job. Or you have the two characters talk in a cafe, and then you move the camera and you show us, audience, the bomb. And now the scene has tension. Will they notice the bomb? Oh, they dropped something on the floor. Are they going to notice the bomb underneath? Oh, this person's leaving. No, they're staying. Oh, no, get out of there. You know, that's the tension. Well, you can do that in an RPG. You put a character in, and you say, hey, one day this guy's going to betray you. Is he? Is it now? Can we fix him? Is there any fixing him? Is he pure evil? Is there a way to make him like us? Those things have much more weight because the players are constantly having interesting, dramatic conversations about it. Hey, Guy Fawkes, you got there just before me. Didn't you blow some people up? Was it in a cafe? Alright. So, the bad guys are doing something. So surely whatever the bad guys are doing is going to kill the leader of this faction. How about a ritual that causes rampant plant growth in the town that would destroy all the buildings? That's good, but I don't think it's evil enough. I think the bad guy's got to be really bad, because eventually the players are going to decide to kill them all. Now, maybe that's something the faction leader wants, but I think it's more interesting if there is a villain inside the camp. But you can talk to that villain, you can meet them, and they can say, listen, we can't stand by this. You can hear them talk. You know what I mean? Alexander Thunder. Hi, I almost killed one of my PCs in the first episode this Saturday. I made up a potion that an NPC had to save his life. Is this okay? Did the players have fun? If yes, then you're good. This sort of stuff can remove a lot of the tension out of the game. But if it's the first session, would it have been better if that player went home sad and then had to make a new character? I don't know. Only you can answer that question. This is why I like permanent injuries and stuff like that. You can stick that on and then it sort of doesn't feel as much of a gimme, but hey, if they had fun, they did everything right. No need to worry. Druid uses a cloud kill spell to mustard gas the town. Yeah, they're planning an attack. I like that. An attack that would kill the party. Is there a mayor or someone? Let's have a look at the people we like. They're gonna kill the village elder. Cook the village elder. Cloud kill spell, spike growth, etc. Now, if they plan to kill the current leader, finding that out is going to get the current leader on side. So that might be interesting, but it's also going to make things difficult to make there be drama about it. But here's another way. So, for instance, cloud kill spell, spike growth, etc. They have an even... It's a secret plan. They have an even secret plan. Kill the druid leader and replace him with their own leader. And now we have a moral quandary. These things are great. When you give this to the players, this is the part where the juice happens, right? What does your character really believe? So, replace them with their own leader. If the players find out and tell the druid leader, then the druid leader... Oh god, we need a name. Then the druid leader can join their mission, but won't vacate their post, and might not even stop killing loggers. Do we tell the druid leader? If we tell him, he's going to be stronger and more prepared to deal with this coup. We could also let them kill the druid leader. They kill the druid leader. Okay. Then we kill their leader, and now there's nobody in charge. We could put the good person in charge. Which do they do? What's the druid leader's race? I don't know. I don't know. You guys want to pick? Post. Everybody go post an idea for the main sort of species of these druids. I think it's essentially one species of druid. I don't think it's incredibly diverse ethnically. Grung. Could do grung. It would be like frogmen, because this will have to be SRD. Fae, we could go like full Fae. Lizard folk. Centaur, Eladrin. Ox dudes. Ox dudes? Ox dudes. Bullywugs. Alright. Tieflings? Alright, let's sort of put these into a group. So, druid species. Fae of some kind. So that'll be your centaurs, your satyrs, etc. Let's do just boring old human. No, let me do a player's handbook species. And then let's do a weird new humanoid species. No beavers. Put a beaver in. There's only one beaver in this campaign. It's a mono beaver campaign. Meanwhile, I will have a little sip of my drink. Very split votes. Alright, here we go. Fae of some kind seems to be winning. But the top half is the goat half. I think you're talking about a goatling. Although they aren't winning the pooing it, so. The mono beaver. Alright. That's it. We're gonna... That's the poll. Closing poll in 4, 3, 7, 2, 1. Faye win. Let's do another poll. What Fae is it? Centaur, Satyr, Oxmen. Elfie. Poll 2. Yeah, Landrin could totally be Fae. That would be under Elfie. Beastmen. God, there's this amazing box of No, not Total War. Warhammer. Warhammer Beastmen in my friendly local game store that I just stared at the other day. Marky plays, that's just a goat. Satyr seems to be winning. Satyr's kicking butt right now. Alright, it's Satyrs. Satyr Druids. There's a fairy dragon in this town. Let's make them be a part of the good faction. Alright. Satyr? Let's name these guys. What do you want to call them? What are the... Tell me a name and tell me who it belongs to. Good guy, bad guy. Now I don't remember which way the vote went last time. I think it was kind of split between druids and going to town. But we'll go to town in a little bit. Sadie, nah. Listen. I just got paints. I've never painted minis. Listen, I've only painted a handful of minis. I'm not that good a painter. I think you have watched me paint like 10% of all the minis I've ever painted on this channel. If you've watched that video where I painted a bear owl, Daði, bad guy leader. Cool. Characters. Is it H? I've lost it. Dakhara. The leader. Gonak. Beefy Satyr. Cyril. Centauras. My players will say Centaur ass, so we're gonna Centauric. There we go. Wicked Satyr. Trying to stick a descriptor on all these guys. Sopstortala. Is that Finnish? We need a... Maybe this is the... Now, if they're all satyrs, that means the fungal queen is a satyr. Is that good? Do we like the idea of the fungal queen being a satyr? Are they all satyrs? All satyrs. Even the fungal queen? Yes? Or no, mix the Fae species. Since if we're doing Fae, it could be a mix. Enough. Mix the Fae species is crushing it. Okay, cool. So this is a centaur party leader. Satyr servant. Good guy satyr. Somebody's got to name this fairy dragon. Dryad. I'm going to swap these names then. Whoa! Thanks, Vox Ratio. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Just got here, says Vox Ratio. Maybe the Druids first enslave them to do their will, give false hope to escape only to kill them in the end. They harvest their despair and betrayal to further their magic and purpose. Is them the players in this scenario? Hanokak. I'm gonna say it's an Eladrin. Or like Fey Elf. I'm not allowed to put Eladrin in here. Let's put a Minotaur in here. Panokak is a Minotaur. Sylphie, the fairy dragon. There we go. Now I think that's a pretty good layout here. Right, so the bad guys, the bad druids, Daghara's druids, they want to go attack the town, they want to kill the druid leader, they're going to violently take over this tribe and wage war on the humans. Then you got the good guys, Sopstortala, I don't know that we can name that, I'll be honest. Bullywug. Oh, we should put a Bullywug in here. No, actually that's not Fae in my setting. Oh, there are Bullywug Fae. But there are also Toadmen in Atroxia. Redcap. We can put a Redcap in here. What did I just vote on? We are voting on the mix of the whether or not what the species of the Druid Circle in our adventure that we're making is. There is a spell. Is it Tsunami? I'm just going to put in your cast Tsunami. That might be a fun sort of thing for the Druids to do. And by fun, I mean terrifying. We're going to have to find a different name for this guy. Some people were posting names earlier. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Clawbellion. Ooh. Fairy Dragon should have a human name. That is funny. The fairy dragon that they have in my campaign right now, Maeve has a fairy dragon occasionally, and it's called Muffin because that's its favorite food. And in Octavia, she fought a bunch of fairy dragons, and they were all bad fairy dragons. They were all evil, and they all had like they all had bad food that they liked. So they were like, this one's called beef jerky, and this one's called root beer, or whatever. I don't remember. Licorice. No. Hardtack. I don't know. There was some, I picked some food I was picking on. Someone's gonna come after me for that. Your food's fine. Your food is valid. I don't actually care. I have no hot food takes. Malachus. Well, I can't call this guy Malachus. I can call this guy Panokak. I can call this guy Malokis. Pineapple on pizza. Yeah, that's funny. God, we should find a Hags or Fate. We already have a hag somewhere else. But I like where your head's at. I don't want to do too many hags. The queen could be Shatter Kai. That's cool. She probably won't be because again, that's not SRD, so I couldn't put it in the adventure if I published it. But it could be some kind of elf from the Feywild. That's fine. We're not going to call the fairy dragon Pineapple on Pizza, but I do want to find... I like Cyril, but I think Sylphie's better here. Good elf druid. What are we going to call the... fairy dragon. What's a fun food name for a fairy dragon? We should go for that, right? Neutral boggles. I should be doing GM prep instead of watching. Thilio von Bray, you should go prep. You should go prep. Or watch. Haggis. Haggis the fairy dragon. I had some lovely haggis when I was in Scotland the other day. Rich from Renegade Rolls took me out to dinner. Yeah, got me haggis. Haggis the fairy dragon. Alright, so the bad guys have a scheme. Why aren't the good guys doing anything? The good guys respect the leader. They're not going to ruin everything. Is that good enough? I don't know. What is haggis? It's a kind of like filling for liver, I think. You should go look it up. It's a traditional Scottish meal, and if I describe it to you, it's going to sound gross, but in actuality, it's very nice. It's kind of like looking at guacamole. It just seems weird, but then you have it, and it's awesome. So now we're going to have a little look at the corporation. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to make sure that we've got these two different ways of approaching the moral conflict in the adventure. And they are going to be some ways that we are headed towards disaster. And I think that's sort of the base level assumption, that we kind of have to create a scenario where if the players do nothing, the bad guys win. Right? So if we create that scenario, that means that eventually we're going to have a situation in which case the players are going to do something, or the situation's going to get worse and it's going to get cool. So that's our goal here. That's good, Eliath. The bad guys, no, the good guys, believe that Sintorek is acting on behalf of the fungal queen. What was her name? They wouldn't call her the fungal queen. They don't know that she's fungus. Because I think the fungus thing is something went wrong. I don't think they're all like fungus druids, and then there are zombies, and they're like, hell yeah. I think that's wrong, and the druids don't like the zombies. We want everybody to hate everybody here. That's going to create a much more interesting environment, I think. And is therefore correct. If told about the fungal queen, they'll change their minds, right? So, hang on, I forgot to, here we go. The good guys believe that Sintorek is acting on behalf of Queen Iseria and is therefore correct. If told about the fungal queen, they'll change their minds. Meaning that the good guys are going, listen, we can't do anything about this. This is the will of the thing. So all it takes are player characters who walk around the map, and by virtue of walking around the map, they will learn about the fungal queen, and they will be able to tell Panokak, hey, fungal queen is a corpse right now, animating a bunch of zombies. Your religion, whatever it is, in this instance is not helping you. You should think about the people who are alive here and today. Don't just act in dogma. Let's do something about this. Right? So how do we do this with a corporation? Well, let's have a little think about that. I think there's this boss. She's not doing anything. Agatha hired additional security from Ledgerman Assurance, which is a private security firm. Those guys are meant to protect the loggers by killing, attacking druids or other monsters, right? She's like, we've hired some security. This is an escalation, but she doesn't care. Heiko Hunter, I think the corpos here, I think the fundamental level is with the corporation, they are ignorant. They are not planning some kind of scheme where they know everything. I think they are just wrong. I think they have no idea really what's going on in the forest. They don't understand it. They're just here to get wood to make the line go up. They're very simple-minded in that way. There's a union leader among the loggers. His name is Hunter. I'm going to name it after you, Heiko. He wants to pivot and cut wood elsewhere. Wants ideally to cut from the other side of the forest. Agatha thinks of that as backing down. Won't engage with the idea, right? So there's somebody here, Hunter, and he's like, hey, we should go cut on the other side of the forest. I don't know why we're making such a big deal out of this. And she's going, no, that's backing down. We own these trees. We bought them. Hire security. Shoot the monsters. Yeah, you're going to be in an adventure supplement. Unless you don't want to. I could call you someone else. Yeah, here you are. Hunter. Agatha Christie. Jacob. Jacob. I hope you're proud. Alright, so. Now they have some loggers who want to fight the druids. That's going to be Jacob. Machin? That's your name. I'm just stealing your names. Let me know if you don't want me to. So, Jacob Machin wants Agatha to send the Ledgerman into the forest to attack the druids. He thinks it's the only way to win. If this happens, the Druid Grove may get wiped out. Right? So here we should put a clock on this as well. There's this bad faction. They're neutral. Because they are the leaders of the faction, I think it's perfectly fine to just take them neutral. That's not a rule or anything. You can do whatever. But in this case, I'm like, well, they're here, they're maintaining the status quo. That's kind of the nature of their evilness, right? They're not plotting, they're not scheming. They're just the cause of the problem, even though they have no idea. Exactly. It is the only way to win. We have to go fight the druids. The players could hear about this and choose to alert the druids, which would wipe out the Ledgerman. We're not going to run a mass combat. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to create a little forking tree, and we're going to say, hey, we're going to tell the players about Jacob's plan. If they don't engage, Jacob's going to tell Agatha about the plan, and if they don't engage, the Ledgermen are going to go into the forest, and if they don't engage, they're going to kill the druids. Now, if they do engage at that last step, they go tell the druids are going to kill the Ledgermen. And that's it. That is the nature of this sort of basic structure. Now, there is this thing that is up in the air. It's going to be up to the players, and they're going to have to think about what they believe in. And they might decide to go stand in the crossroads and go, hey, and try and make sure this all doesn't blow up. But that might not work. I don't know. It is going to be up to the players. And that's kind of the crux of, I think, a good, morally complicated villain, is that you, the DM, can't know how it goes. Because the one we did last time is we did the Fungal Queen, we did her plan, we did her evil schemes. That queen is, by her very nature, the problem. She's the villain. You're going to go kill her. Is that morally repugnant? Is that otherizing? It's probably all of those things, but also it's a game we're playing. And in that game, I made a character, and that means that my character, has a bunch of abilities that are going to be designed for punching monsters in the face. So us as DMs, we have to make these villains be so repugnant, it's good to punch them in the face. The reason we like Indiana Jones is because he punches all the bad guys, right? He punches the Nazis. That's what makes Indiana Jones awesome. I don't think it's wrong to like that. So I think as DMs, we should make it be up to us to create villains that are punchable, beatable. Make the fantasy version of the Nazis, right? You can do that with government structures. You can make your game be punk in that way. Or you can go and say, hey, there's this thing called the Fungal Queen. She's out here in the forest. She's going to go destroy all of humanity and take over the world and end everything. I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm really sorry about that. Hang on, I can fix this. There you go. So, that's one way to do it. We have this villain. The players will get to go punch her in the nose, be the heroes, get to use their characters. What about these corporations? Well, they are going to be, this corporation, the Druid Grove, we're going to put questions in front of the players. And inside these factions are villains. So there is Ledgerman, Villain, Party. There's a group of Ledgermen who are in this corporation. They are a villain party. And they don't want the players involved. They want to take care of this. They're bad guys. That's perfectly fine, right? But now inside this corporation, there are all kinds of people who are just sort of neutral. They're normal people. They're here to cut the trees. Surely they do not deserve to get killed. How is it best we deal with this? It's up to the players. Now the players might decide to stop the Ledgerman, to stop the evil faction, to make sure the workers cut on the other side of the trees, to make sure the Druid Grove stops doing all the murdering, right? And now they've sort of fixed that whole scenario, right? That's going to be up to the players. This is how you create both, right? You can have the bad guys. There be factions with bad guys in them, but the factions themselves are full of just ordinary people. They're here cutting trees. They're not wicked. They're not mustache twirling. They're none of those things. But there is a group of people in here who are cruel and capricious. Yeah, Jacob's hot now. I fixed it, Jacob. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I think we've done a decent job here. Do you folks have any questions? Does this all make sense? Is there a Lorax who speaks for the trees? Not right now, but there are Ledgermen who will break your knees. Do we have a character track with a hot filter for this setting? We're going to get our friend Brimrun to do the art for this book, and unless I tell her otherwise, she's going to make the characters hot. Which became very difficult for her recently because I asked for a bunch of animal species, and she cursed me to high heaven. So, does this all make sense? We have this faction. It's got complexity in it, but the complexity isn't all that complicated, actually. It's just got some moving pieces, and the moving pieces have names. You get it. You get it, Beta Reeves. Jared Hendricks. This is Obsidian. This is the Vault. Check it out. All right, then. I think we've gotten to a decent stopping point. I think we have here a shape for the corporations and the Druid Grove. I think this was a fairly short stream. I don't think it needs to be very long. I think we've sort of gotten our basic idea out. We've made the Druids, who are, it says here, are satyrs. We're going to change that back. We're going to change it to Fey Druids. There's a group, a tribe of Fey Druids who are morally divided on how to approach this issue of the humans cutting the trees, and we have this corporation that is in the process of cutting down all the trees. What do you want next episode to be about? We want to do, I think we got to do the Wizard's Tower, right? I think so. I don't know that there's that much left to figure out until we start sort of maybe diving deep into some more of these ideas, but there's a limit to how much we can do here with chat because there's a bunch of ideas and questions floating around, and at some point I just have to put on a high RPM music and type out all my ideas. Hey, you're welcome, Flaming Emu. I've seen an emu. I went to Australia once. Wizard traps. Yeah, we gotta do the wizard traps. So, that's where we're gonna pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is brought to you by me and my girlfriend. And if you want to support us directly, go check out our Patreon, where we post videos live. We post the Daði's Diaries, where I run through what I'm doing in my campaign. We post Game Tales, a podcast where I sit down and talk to my players. Those are available at the Apprentice tier. And if you are an Adept, you get access to the Broadsheet, which is my digital magazine that is all about Blackguard and my setting. So if you want fantasy, Flintlock fantasy by Gaslight, it's like Victorian London meets D&D. It's my magnum opus at this point is 220 pages of my setting with adventures, with detailed burrows, with subclasses, magic items, mundane marvels, which are like magic items, but they're completely non-magic, but they're very rare and super dope. We have, what else do we have? We have Adept PDFs, so that's your dungeoneering rules, your hexploration rules, and good God, how to make magic items in the Arcane Forge. We have the Book of the Profane Word, which is my take on the Book of Vile Darkness, and a whole bunch more. So go check out our Patreon, go support us directly, and make videos like this one possible. And until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.